Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to PCM22. It's career mode. This is episode number 14. We're in the National Road Championships now, which is a difficult task for me with one rider per team. Or one rider per nation on the team, that is. Because there's nobody to support. So you can see Anderson here. He is fourth on my list of sprinters. He's a lead out man. But he has a decent chance at a top 10, especially with a +4 race day condition. But you can see as we are down now to the final 18K, just reeling in the breakaway, what's happening is that without protection, without somebody to cover him, he is running out of energy, and we're seeing an attack right now that's seeing a group escape. There's already a bunch of riders off the back. This stage has been high tempo. You know, you can see whatever this team in orange here is loaded with riders, and I'm going to find it a much more difficult task to get results in the road races than I was able to get in the time trials. You can see he's struggling to keep up, and it's getting worse and worse here with just 7K to go. Down to 50 riders, by the way. So we've got a top 50 secure, but there goes another group. That's 10 riders going off the front. But a few riders instantly able to pull that back in. However, 3 riders have stayed clear. 4K to go. Gel up. Little undulation here before the finish. In fact, it's a bit punchy. Anderson is slightly punchy today, but he is not in great shape here with 3K to go to contend this thing. We're going to push and see if we can't get that top 10, but I just don't know how much energy he has. It's going to be mostly a situation of him just trying to hang on here. He's definitely not in a top 10 position with 1.5K to go right now, but as we come through over the top, let's start that sprint, and the breakaway takes the win. Johansson with the win for this one. Sorten Craig Anderson just second. I'm able to outsprint a lot of these chasers, but it's just outside of the top 10. Beating a number of contenders. Anderson takes 14th on this one. You see how low his energy was at the end. We really couldn't afford to push earlier. Early going here in the Swiss National Championships, and the gap is growing and growing and growing. I think the breakaway is going to win today. It sometimes happens in the National Championships where you see something along those lines. So Bogley, I've decided I've got to attack and try to bridge that gap, which is going to be a nightmare to try to do. We've already opened up 2 minutes on the Peloton. That's how weak the Peloton is riding. There's only 21 riders in the Peloton. There are 8 in the break. I am now in no man's land in between. We're going to spend a lot of effort on this climb to come to see if we can't bridge that gap and get up there with that breakaway, which appears to be headed to a pretty likely win on this one. There is the start-finish line, but let's go ahead and speed things up a bit as we climb. 78 effort. Is that gap coming down? Yes, it is definitely coming down. We've already brought it down by half a minute. We've also already opened it up by 4 minutes behind us. It was a minute and a half just a moment ago, which means, yes, it is incredibly likely that the breakaway is going to win today's stage. We've brought it back by more than a minute now. Down to 5:30, but we are going to really have to manage this well, riding solo, trying to bridge that gap. Under 5 minutes. We need to get some recovery on the descent. So, backing off quite a bit. The gap is holding through this stretch. Okay, and as we reach the bottom, we're going to have to speed back up a bit, but we're not going to push hard through here. We're not great on the flat, so we want to just kind of keep moving along. And so for now, the gap holds at 5 minutes. That descent is very, very helpful in giving us the ability to, over time, get closer to these guys. Meanwhile, behind us, 9 minutes. They are almost already out of contention with 142K to go. Okay, we are climbing again, so we're going to speed up a little bit more. Just the hill section here. And we cut the gap down just by about 10 seconds through here. We want to continue to ride. This whole area we want to gain on. Water. 137K. 12 minutes behind us, and now down to 4 minutes in front. 3.5. 3 minutes. Backing off a little bit, though. We've got to make sure we actually make it to the top. They are in sight. 2:20. 2 minutes. They are not pushing hard because the gap is so huge behind. Under a minute. Speeding up just a little bit so that we actually make it before the top, and we have made it. We are going to sit on for a while. We are going to sit on. Mickey Shar looks like a favorite from this group. Imhoff is here. Not really big names otherwise, though. And it's a 19.5-minute gap and growing. No chance of that Peloton coming back from 20 minutes behind with 120K to go. And more than a third of the number in this group compared to that group. All we have to do is put foot down and we will easily bridge that gap. Benji's team has 3 riders here. That reference should be obvious to most of you. Yeah, holding at about 20 minutes now. And for me, we put a lot of effort in to catch these guys, so for now I'm not too interested in contributing. That's making the top 10 pretty secure now. We could finish 9th. We could be dead last in this group and still claim a top 10. So we're going to wait until the action picks up. So for now, we're going to just speed it up. I'll see you in a little bit when things are ready to step up a little bit. But meanwhile, the gap's actually growing. During that last set of climbs, you may have noticed that we actually did take a hit in terms of our energy consumption. I did have to speed up to stay put, so the pace is increasing. Now, here's my thought on why I do not want to work, because usually I am more than happy to contribute. But there are 2 teams with multiple riders, including just in terms of spares. You have 3 spare riders in a group of 9. So only, 5 teams represented here? So 6 teams represented here. Myself and the 3 other riders that are solo in this group. If the group only had 4 riders, you've got to contribute. But we have a 30-minute advantage, which means, the win is now guaranteed from this group. So now we have to really start to think tactically how best to put ourselves in position. 1 rider off the back, but I'm not sure if that's a fall. Kristen, so one of the tutor riders is out the back, so they're down to 2 now. Does hurt the firepower, but he's 2 minutes behind from that. I'm not sure he's going to make it back up here. If he does, that part I'm not concerned about. He's going to spend a lot of energy to get back in. Let's go ahead and get water one final time here. But tactically, I think you have to put the pressure on those teams that have multiple riders. They are at an advantage. They can afford to have somebody sit on the back. The others should be the ones contributing, and that's how a group like this would function. Now, would I take occasional turns? Absolutely. I chased. He's back on, by the way. I chased for a ridiculous amount of kilometers to get into the group. Therefore, I've expended more energy. And with the huge gap behind us, which would be unrealistic anyway, with the huge gap behind us, I'm definitely thinking about finishing as high as I can. I certainly want to get at least a top 5. Bogley, not a great rider. Looking around the field, Kishar, how is his rating so low? But okay. Stussy, Zobrist, Imhoff, better known as a time trialer. Couple sprint capable guys, but in terms of punchiness, I'm at the top of the list. I am at the top of the list. Peloton is getting smaller, by the way. They've lost a couple riders, 2 or 3 now, from the group. And you can see this time that pace. Tutor's setting that higher tempo. 79 not even keeping up with these guys right now. I've got a real shot with this group. That extra energy that I spent and just being in the break, even though I'm not working, is still put us a lot further. So we're going to be kind of pushing into that maximum before too long. But the bigger hill, we only have to go up 1 more time now. The smaller hill, we still need to go up twice. 23-minute advantage. They are not going to catch us. For now, I will recover, but soon we're going to dip into that maximum and it's going to fade down a bit. Right now, nobody in the group is attacking, so we're okay on that front. 21-minute advantage. It's definitely come down a lot, and we're not pushing very hard, but they are way too far behind to bridge that gap. And if we were going slow enough for them to bridge that gap, I would either A, contribute, or B, attack the group. All right, here we go. Penultimate time up the smaller hill. Perfect place for somebody with a 74 hill rating to attack and beat the group and then hang on over the descent, which we have a 73 downhill as well, to the finish line. And it does not flatten out until the last, what, 400 meters? All right, got to be ready this time. This could easily come down to an attack point by one of these guys. We are the better climber of the group. However, I don't want to go solo. I think the punchy final climb is the best way to go. Therefore, I'd rather just stay on and conserve. I have that punchy advantage. The acceleration also at a 70 should be enough to get away. 20-minute advantage over 18 chasers. Now they are only twice our size. Kristen, the other strongest guy we want to follow. And it's now 3 riders. Mickey Shar, Kristen, myself, 1 rider off the back trying to chase us down. Stussy looks like he's going to bridge the gap. He's got some acceleration. He's a little punchy. And it's back together. Meanwhile, the Peloton, 3 riders have attacked on the flat, it looks like, leaving the rest of the group behind and closing that gap to us a bit. It's a minute closer together, but we've got plenty of distance, plenty of time advantage over them, and I am virtually full strength here entering that final punchy climb. I'm just starting to hit into a dip on the maximum. And 4 riders were dropped. Good thing I did decide to follow. These guys are actually attacking right now, and I'm just following along. These guys are all going full gas, and I'm just sitting on the wheel. Back together again, 7K. Still following Stussy. He's at the front now. We're second wheel, and again, 3 riders separate for just a moment. And here we go, into the climb. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Okay, we're going to come around, I think on an attack right about here. Right about here. We're still 5K out. Three of us going clear, and myself pushing off the front that little bit more. Oh, 99, come on, 99, 99. 8-second advantage as we go over the top. 10-second advantage. Can we hang on with the descending? Sprinting now for the finish line. 9-second advantage, now just 2 chasers. 1.5K to go. Can we hang on to this thing? We do not have the red bar for the final push to the line. 9-second advantage. Will I hang on? I do. Bogley for the win. National champion jersey for the year to come over Mickey Shar, Claudio Imhoff, the 2 named favorites that ended up in the group. Finished 2-3. And Jonathan Bogley, who, to my knowledge, is a total unknown quantity, has just won the Swiss National Championship. Nice. It did go according to plan. I could have gone about 50 meters sooner. Where I said I was going to go, I hesitated. Still worked out, but I should have gone at that point. I kind of allowed them to get on their front foot. I then had to push a little bit harder than I had intended to open a little gap on them, and then it was a little closer at the finish line. If I had attacked right when I said I wanted to, I think we actually would have gone clear easier and had a little bit more of a gap at the end. But it was still enough. It was still the right attack. Just should have been 100 meters sooner, 50 meters sooner. Difficult situation in Ukraine as we have Ponomar, who's somehow the favorite, which I don't quite understand. He doesn't have a high cobble rating. He's not particularly punchy. He's not a great sprinter. He's just, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all over the place. And then somehow they've got him labeled as a favorite. Now, this race is a big combination of things. It's got some climbing. It's got the punchiness. It's got a cobble section. It's got sprint. I mean, how it actually finishes is, well, that, right? It's punchy and cobbled at the finish, and you need a huge combination of attributes. Now, the great thing was Ponomar came into this one with the fitness peak and the objective, +3 expected, ends up drawing a +5. So he's looking great. There is no downhill recovery, though, and the group of 4 who took off at the start immediately had a massive advantage, even though there are 2 very large teams of riders with 6, 7, 8 riders each making up the vast majority of this field. There's a breakaway 4 with a huge advantage, and they weren't interested in chasing. So we've had to go on the attack to have any sort of chance in this race. We've already opened a 3.5-minute gap behind us, but we have a huge gap to cover. There's the 4 riders, and they do have at least 1 breakaway rider. I can see why now those teams aren't interested in chasing. Those teams have, I think, 3 of the 4 riders at the front, it looks like. Which I don't understand how they could have that many riders in the field when there's only so many riders, and there's a limitation. Let's see if we can get a little look at the field. It's really hard to get a look at the field, but you can see it's all yellow and green. It's all yellow and green mostly. Anyway, they've let me go, so we've opened that gap up. Catching the front 4 is going to be really difficult. With the +5, I have the cobble rating, I have a little bit of sprint, I have the climbing capability in a generally weak field. But there's no recovery like we had on the last race, which was why I was nervous about trying to catch up to these guys. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to pull that off at this stage without any sort of actual recovery to happen. We just have to endure, and I'm not quite sure how to do that over a very long period. So for now, we've got to back off. We've only pulled it down by about 15 seconds while they continue to not push, maybe through the cobbled sections like that. I quickly pulled back half a minute through there without giving the effort. Can we get a little recovery in through here? Not quite. Still, it's down to 5:18. I am somehow catching up to them despite giving a very low effort at this point. Heart rate down. Will I recover? Not quite, but we're on the flat, so it's hard to get recovery out of the flat. Down to 3.5. I might just catch them because they are not giving enough effort to keep me away. 15.5 minutes behind, by the way, and just a minute ahead. Looks like we are going to succeed. 100K to go. And we've caught the group. We have caught the group. We're in with a shout. And these 2 don't look to be from the same team. So there's still one team that has a lot of riders. It's black and yellow, whoever it is. And they're not represented up here. These guys are blue and yellow. It's a different team. But this is the big team. Full contingency. I think it is a Ukrainian team. Alright, so we are back to full strength. We have a 1650 gap. I'm going to sit on for a little while, but I do think at some point I want to contribute. I think there's a good chance to leave these guys behind, but let's go ahead and take a look and see what the competition looks like. Cobble rating, 55. Can climb, does not sprint. Cobble rating, 59. Not a sprinter or a climber. A little bit better, but still not any of the above. No, we already saw him. This was the teammate. 60 cobble. Yeah, got a great chance here. Great chance. But the gap's down to 13 minutes. They are coming back at us. I need to start contributing to help keep this thing away. 12-minute advantage. 65k, they could absolutely pull that back if I don't get help and support. Just got to keep an eye on that time. As long as it doesn't come down too rapidly, we could keep these guys at bay. Go ahead and get water. Final time. 11:40 the gap now. This could go either way. I think we are far enough ahead. But they are definitely catching up. It's only 22 riders chasing. And you know it's very few at that putting the effort in. Now that final little sequence, we're going to be the strongest. We have the best cobble rating, we have the best punchiness, so I don't need to go terribly early with these guys and run myself out of energy and have them catch back up to me. With a still 11-minute, 10-second advantage, they've only pulled back 10 seconds in the last 10k, meaning there's a great chance that we stay away on this thing. The only rider not contributing, outside of the cobbles, the only rider not contributing is the teammate, I think, on the team of 2. Now there's 2 guys not contributing. 26k to go. And at 10.5 minutes, yes, it's enough. It's enough. They're not going to catch us. So it's down to me and these 4. I am starting to dip into my max energy, but we're down inside 20k. It's okay. Gap down to 9 minutes, but again, these guys are not that big of a threat to me. Or the chase is not that big of a threat, not at that distance. Peloton is shrinking because of the pace. 8.5 minute gap. 10k to go, slowing it down. Nobody else wants to work. Is that because they're tired? $8k. We want to gel up fairly soon. Gel now. And here comes the first attack. The riders are entering the last 5 kilometers of the stage. 7.5 minute advantage. Again, no chance at this point. Group no longer working together, now focusing on the win. Back to relay. It's okay if we ride the front, as long as we're not pushing too hard. 3k to go. Comes the next attack. Is he sitting up already? Yes, he is. Couldn't even get off the front. Here's where we want to attack here in just a moment. Using the cobbles and the climb to leave these guys behind. We've opened the gap inside 1 kilometer. Finishing that sprint, we've opened up a 17, now 20-second gap. Can we hang on to it? Red bar's gone, but all we had to do was open it up and drain their red bars and then go. Back-to-back wins, national champions. Ukraine and Switzerland are both ours. I think we can afford to quick sim quite a few from here on out, as the sponsorship confidence is no longer in doubt. So I'm not worried about getting top 10s. We've done enough to secure the evaluation. That for sure has done it. We are going to get the max evaluation. So unless there's a chance at getting a win, I think we will quick sim all or the rest. I won't do a video outro just yet. Let's see if there are any more races to participate in. Otherwise, I'll see you in a little bit. I almost forgot. My biggest objective of the year is today, and presents a pretty significant challenge, but I have prepared well for that challenge. Now, the significant challenge is that we need a top 10 in the French national road race. Well, this is one of the 2 nations where I still have more than 1 rider, so there's one bonus that I have. But both riders that I have, and remember, first year, right, we had a generic team. We had a bunch of riders from Guam. We had multiple riders from France. We had a couple of UK riders in that first year. Most of those had expiring contracts. A handful did not. Among that handful, we have 2 riders left from Guam, and we have 2 French riders remaining. Both of those French riders are not good. They are not good. Peloton, in particular, is almost 40 years of age, and he has almost the lowest possible rating in the game. Attributes do not go below 50. Cannot go below 50. Peloton has 50s in everything except for Bear Door, which is irrelevant in the career mode on your team. And downhill, he has a 52 downhill, otherwise is straight 50s across the board. But while Dugers is not much better, he's got very, very low 60s across the board. He was one of the better riders from a year ago. Dugers, obviously the rider we ride for, but he's average 11 points better across the board compared to Peloton. But both of these riders, being that they are only domestiques on the team this year, they only had one objective on their entire calendar. And that was this race, knowing that we needed a top 10 and that it was a 4-star objective for the sponsor. Peloton, done already. We haven't even done anything. 30k to go. All we did was bring back the breakaway. One rider still clear, by the way. 40 seconds ahead. He's right there, Bernard. But Peloton, with a +4 race day condition, couldn't even hang in there because of how low his ratings are. And all he's done is protect Dugers. But now that he's out of energy and Dugers is starting to ride for himself a bit, as Demar, the favorite, is right there. Now that he's having to ride for himself, you can already see he is starting to lose out a bit. But he is in much better shape than he would have been given that Peloton was here to offer some support. I was just talking a couple races ago how lack of support makes it a lot tougher. Dugers at least got support for a little while. But he alone, even with the great race day condition, and again, both of these guys combined, this is expected. This is the expected race day condition. Combined was a +8. They have a +8. 103 in the Peloton, and Dugers is going to have to ride solo from here. 20k, high tempo. It's going to be really hard to get this top 10 for him. Really hard. Now we hang on. 16k. The high tempo. Plenty of sprinters in this field. Plenty of decent sprinters. I mean, Demar obviously is very good, but plenty of decent sprinters to contest with, and Dugers, totally on his own here with 10k to go, just struggling to keep up near the front. Not thinking about the win in the slightest this time. This is very much about just trying to get that top 10. 65, 67 on the sprint acceleration makes it highly unlikely. Very, very highly unlikely, but we'll give it our go. We'll give it our best. Okay, I think I want to go about 94 here in a moment. And inside 6k, gel up. Down to 87 in the Peloton. And we're not in a bad position. Let's get up behind Manzin here. Get up on his wheel. 4k to go. There you go, without much effort. Good. 3k to go. Can we get behind somebody in contention? Like Alaphilippe is a good one to follow. Let's follow Alaphilippe. 3k to go. 2.6. Okay. Starting my acceleration and my go. 2k. There you go. These guys are taking a second to sort it out and decide who's going to respond. That's allowed me to get forward. I do not have the red bar. I do not have the top pace. I am going to fade. But can I keep a top 10? Right now it's looking like I might. Ratatouille has won. That's not how you pronounce that name, but it sure looks like it. And Dugers got 8th. Are you kidding me? He did it. All right. Well, apparently I was a little over stressing about whether we would accomplish our goals this season. We've easily accomplished our goals this season. There's certainly been seasons where that did not happen, though. So, and apparently we headed straight to the podium. Not that we are on the podium. Laporte, Alaphilippe, who we were following, and Ratatouille, takes the win. That's insensitive. Sorry. Ratatouille has claimed the victory. Just looks a lot like that. Not saying that he's a French chef of the mouse variety. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.